Cool. What's going on, everyone? This is the You Want It, You Got It podcast. Today, I am speaking with Bill from the band Slay Positive. How you doing today, Bill?
Yeah, good. Glad to be here.
Cool, cool, man. I'm just gonna go and start right out, man. Slay Positive. What's the name based off of?
Yeah, funny story. I was playing Halo
Okay.
and there was some like challenge or something. And this was at a point where I kind of started demoing songs. Like I knew I was gonna like start my own band, and I was like, I gotta figure out a name. But I'm not gonna stress about it. I'm just gonna like if something comes to me, I'll write it down, think about it later. And I'm playing Halo, and there was some like challenge or something to have like a positive like kill death ratio, and it was just called stay positive. So
Okay.
we're loading into the match, and like right at the start, the announcer guy, he's like Slayer, and I had this this challenge, stay positive, in my mind. We're playing Slayer, and I was like, yeah, they really should have called that challenge Slay Positive. And then there was sort of like a beat, and I was like, hey, that'd make a good band name. And I went and I looked it up, and nobody had claimed it yet. So I was like, all right, mine. Gotta get something out there and claim it.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, it's a cool name, man. I didn't know whether it was when you first contacted me. I didn't know whether it was like until I listened to the music. I know if it was a band or if it was like like your artwork or whatnot. And then I started listening to the music. What influences your music writing?
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's really just whatever kind of hits me in the moment. I mean, who really knows where any of these ideas come from? Some it's different stuff. Sometimes it's like a lot of times my songs are like purely fictional,
Hmm.
but they kind of maybe come to me through like something in real life that I like noticed or I thought was like funny. So I got songs that are like just totally about like made up, like sci-fi or like video game stuff that I thought was like funny or
Hmm.
cool. Um, something like Dragzilla, I think kind of probably came to me because like, and that's not even like any type of like political or social commentary
For sure.
song, but there were all these like, stories about like drag queens or whatever and people getting all offended. And so probably that was in my mind. And then, at the same time, I was like, hey, what'd be funny is if like a drag queen was like 500 feet tall, you know? And so, like, I was just like, from there, I was like, oh, like Dragzilla, I was like, and then Chalk kind of just came for me from there.
Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, titles are what brings people in. People suck people in. I like good names for songs.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of music are you normally into?
Yeah, I mean, I like a little bit of everything. I mean, definitely a lot of like rock and like punk rock, kind of abrasive stuff. I like noise rock, but I like hip hop too. But I like the same kind of like, almost a little like noisy and like electronic, but like with some rock influences type of like music. But I mean, I like Johnny Cash or whatever, just a guy with an acoustic guitar too. But
Yeah.
that's not the type of music I'm making.
No, no, no. I mean, sometimes I mean I play hardcore, and I play metal, but at the end of the day, I don't always listen to metal and hardcore.
Hmm.
Um, you said Johnny Cash. I mean, we live in the South. You can't. It's kind of hard not to like Johnny Cash, right?
Sure, yeah.
Um, so where do you guys play around town at? Because you're from Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah, from Atlanta. I like Smith's. That's a cool venue, Smith's Old Bar.
Hmm.
It's like convenient, for me and for like people, a lot of my friends, kind of around that area. And there's easy parking there. That's what it's all about. To get someone to a show, is it's like, how are you gonna have to pay for parking and pay for the show? No, parking's free. All right, I'll come to the show. Sure.
Yeah.
But
Um.
we also played at Heck House, which is like a spot I think in Decatur. That's
Okay.
where we did our first show actually. Um, I know it was like Heck House. It was like a nonprofit, and they were doing like like you pay to get in, but then all the money just goes to the band. And then literally the day we were playing the show, I think they like lost their nonprofit status, so they were like, "Oh, we can't like actually charge anybody money to come see this." You know what I mean? Like we'll
Yeah.
still put on the show, but like I don't know. Apparently, like their neighbors or something complained and got their status revoked.
So is the venue still there?
Yeah, the venue is still
Yeah.
there. Yeah, but now they're just putting on like free shows. But
Cool.
still cool, still giving people a place to play, and it's a
Yeah,
nice little outdoor spot too.
for
So
sure.
it's good when the weather's right.
Um, is that wait? I might have this venue um, confused with somebody else, another venue. But is the stage like along a fence line?
No, the stage is right next to. Well, on one side, yeah, it's kind of right on the edge of the property, but
Uh-huh.
the stage is sort of like right next to this house,
Hmm.
and so like the backdrop is like the wall of this house that they've like painted like their logo on and everything,
Okay.
and like it's like a house, but like I don't think anyone's actually like living in it. I think they've turned it into this sort of like art space for people to do, music or plays or comedy or whatever.
For sure, for sure. How long has Slay Positive been around?
I'd say this is, I guess, our third year. Um, we put out our first song back, yeah, I think 2022 should be right. Because that's when we played our first show. Here, I'm actually pulling it up
Yeah, you're
right
good.
now. But yeah, I'd say about 3 years. Just putting out stuff. Yeah, 2022 was our
Okay.
first.
And you had the same lineup at the time or currently, or is it
There's some variation. So it's me, playing bass and doing vocals. My buddy Chris, when we play live, he plays the keys, he sings backup. And at the start, he was also doing all of the like recording and like mixing and mastering.
okay?
Um, and now we've started working with this guy Glenn over at Meteor Mastering. So he mixed and mastered the most recent song, No Hook, and the next one that's going to come out too. But Chris still plays with me live. He still like contributes like backup vocals and stuff. And then drummers, we've used different drummers a couple times. The first guy who was recording with us was a guy named Asif, and he's good, but he's just busy. Plays in a lot of like most drummers,
For
plays
sure.
into like a lot of bands. So he wasn't really around so much to like play live. So like at Heck House, we played with a friend of mine, Skylar, who plays in Atlanta Space Quartet. And so he played with us. And then at Smith's, I got recommended this guy, Greg Washington, who plays in the Relics. And he played at Smith's with us. And I liked him. I thought he was a good drummer. So he's been like doing a lot of recording for me. So he played on the most recent track, No Hook. He's playing on the next one that we are putting out. So we had a couple of different drummers, but me and Chris have been pretty consistent as like the two other instrumentalists.
So you guys are basically the two main dudes of Slay Positive, you'd say then?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you write most of the music and then and give it to others, or is it with the two of you? Do you guys collaborate on the tracks?
Usually I write. I would say kind of like not just the lyrics, but like the music, everything. I would say about 85% of it. Like it's
Okay.
mostly like a full song. And then I show it to Chris and I'm like, what would you, because he's like not just a keyboard player, he's like a really good guitar player. So he's got like a good mind for like writing lead, writing melody. So a lot of times I'll bring him, like I'll have, the bass and, the guitar kind of sound already like, demoed. And I'm like, all right, here I'm thinking like a keyboard solo. Like, what would you want to do? And then we'll kind of come up with something together. But like, he'll kind of like, I'll have final say, but he kind of takes the lead on that.
Correct. Okay.
Or playing like, a specific chord here. Cause a lot of times I'll just have like basic kind of like a one and a five, kind of going. And he's just like, oh yeah, he has a good ear for music theory too. So he'll be like, oh, I know the exact chord you want here. And, he'll lay it down on the keys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you guys play out?
Um, Not as much as I'd like, but a decent amount. I mean, ideally, I'd like to try to play something every time I put out a song, but it
Yeah.
averages more to like every other song. You know, we'll have a show to go along with it.
So out of the 3 years, how many shows you guys think you've played?
Not a lot. Probably like, probably only like two, maybe like three if you count.
Okay.
I'm trying to put together like a live session type of thing. Up here in my attic. This is actually like the little sort of studio room I got.
Okay.
And so I want to try to get something going where like we're all, kind of playing together, but we're recording right into like a DI. We get like, like three songs just kind of in like one go, and then send that off to like maybe like Glenn over at Meteor Mastering, and kind of have him like put a mix and master on it, you know. So it's like still it's us playing live, it's all one take, but then it's like elevated a little bit because it's all just recorded, digitally. So you don't have to worry about, oh, how does the room sound? Is this mic
Yeah.
right? Other than the vocal mics. Um, I was talking about it with Chris. He's like, it's a lot harder than you're envisioning, and just try to set your expectations. So I probably shouldn't even be talking about it, frankly. Like we'll probably try it, and it'll be like, I was like, damn, he was right. This is a lot harder than I was envisioning.
Nah, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
So growing up, you are you from Atlanta area? Or are you
Yeah, DeKalb County. So
okay?
like right, like 5 minutes outside of the perimeter, basically.
Going in high school, what kind of stuff? What kind of bands were you listening to?
Um, in high school, like I mean, I liked, like punk rock, but also kind of like alternative. I remember Cagey Elephant. I really liked them. That was around the time they were kind of blowing up too.
Yeah.
High school, kind of like post 2010s,
Mm-hmm.
not 2010s, but post 2010, so like 2012, around then. They were getting big, and I liked them a lot. I liked Queens of the Stone Age, Nirvana,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. KG Elephant. They're from Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is
Yeah.
not that far from where I'm at.
Okay, cool. You're in
Yeah.
Kentucky?
No, I'm on the border of Kentucky. I'm in a town called Clarksville, Tennessee, which is on the border, like literally on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee.
Oh, wow. Okay, nice.
There's an army base here that my father was stationed at, and he retired here, so that's what brought me to Tennessee. But like Bowling Green is literally maybe an hour and 15 from here, so it's not
Oh,
too
that's
bad.
funny. Yeah.
But so were you in a band at all in school at all, or played
Yeah,
music?
actually, Chris, our keyboardist, he and I played in a band in like high school,
Cool.
and that was fun. That was probably, yes. I mean, I've been recording music since I was like 16.
Okay.
So I've been at it for a while.
Any other stuff out there?
Um, yeah, I mean, just stuff in the past. Like, I mean, I'm a little hesitant to be like, yeah, go listen to my high school band, because I mean, even I haven't listened to that,
Yeah.
shit in like years. So I don't know how well it actually holds up. But and the other thing too is this is before the days of like streaming becoming super like commonplace. So
Mhm.
I don't even know if any of that stuff's even on like Spotify, or because that was back when you had to like print out CDs and try to like
Oh,
sell them
yeah.
to people. Yeah.
MySpace days?
Yeah, we that was a little bit before our time. It was
Okay.
more, I think, the Facebook era.
Okay.
But like still it wasn't like the idea of like, check out my band, you just go to this website and it'll just play it for you. It was
For
sort of
sure.
like, check out my band, give me $5 for this EP. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Which like I think it's a lot easier now where there's no investment, other than a little bit of a click and a little bit of time to check
Yeah.
something out.
It's so easy nowadays, I mean, you can write a song and have it online the same exact day that you recorded it, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so do you guys still you guys not printing any CDs at all for sale or anything for merch? Just
No, not yet. I mean, I don't
yeah.
really. I mean, I'd like to, print out like get merch and physical stuff, but I kind of feel like, for now, let's just like focus on, putting out music and stuff, and hopefully, create a demand for physical merch. Because that's the other thing too is I'm already spending money on, equipment and like studio stuff and like, stuff for videos. So I'm like, let me, I don't want to spend more money on a bunch of t-shirts or CDs. And then people are like, yeah, it's cool, but not, I don't need a t-shirt. And now I've got like 50 shirts sitting in my
Yeah,
studio, like
for sure. I get
taking
that.
up
I get
space.
that.
I could be blowing that money on another bass guitar or something.
For sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Another thing
you
I don't need.
so you predominantly just play bass?
Yeah, yeah. The band is like bass and drums and keys. Um, so there's no guitar in like a traditional sense on it. I do have it's like an 8-string bass, so
Uh-huh.
it's like the strings right next to each other, octaves.
Yeah.
So it's like a very like thin bass guitar string, and then like a guitar string right next to it. So technically, there is a little guitar on any of those songs that I
Yeah.
use the 8 string on. So like the new song No Hook, that's the 8 string.
Interesting. What bass players did you influenced you?
Um, I really liked, and this was another band I really liked back in high school too. Rancid,
Yeah,
their
for
bass
sure.
player, yeah, Matt Freeman, I think is his name.
He's a beast, man.
Yeah, he's crazy. And I'm like, I'm almost like I shouldn't even be comparing myself to him because his stuff is way more. I'm just like, yeah, I really like him, and then he's doing all this like Motown, but like sped up, to like punk rock levels, and I'm not really doing anything that complicated. But I really liked him. Um, really kind of anybody who would sort of try to like do something a little bit different with the instrument that you wouldn't really normally hear.
Yeah.
Like this is not my sound really, but like I really like that band like Corn.
Yeah.
Like when I was like, especially like more kind of like early high school, kind of middle school era.
Yeah, yeah.
And part of it I always liked that. I was just like, man, I feel like I haven't heard anybody like play a bass like this with this
Like
like
Fieldy?
super. Yeah, yeah, with the sort of the mids like really scooped, and it's like just the low end that you feel and a high end that kind of cuts through the guitars, and then like all the slap stuff. I was like, that's like it's like you hear that bass, and you're kind of just like, oh, like I know what band this is just off the bass line,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Yeah.
even playing anything like that, but I always thought like that's cool that you could just like instantly know like what band it is just off this one instrument.
The sound is a big deal,
Yeah.
I always made fun of that. I mean, I listened to Corn back in the day. I mean, I still do. I mean, good music's good music. If you like it, you like it. But I would always be like, man, all he did was just take the strings out of the package, put them on the bass, twist it twice, and then that's how he got his sound.
Yeah.
But I mean, his sound is unique. It is something different. And I mean that's just like Matt Freeman, for instance. Matt's sound when you hear that bass, man. It's just like his style. I mean, he's a big influence. I mean, a big not influence, but he's a big part, obviously, of Rancid's sound is that
Mhm.
bass. I play bass as well, and I go back a little further back. I'm a little older. I go back towards the '80s from when I first wanted to play bass, and of course, my first person I saw play bass, and I liked to do, and that's why I wanted to play bass. I wanted to be like Nikki Sixx.
Mhm.
That I thought he was
Nikki, yeah.
I thought he was the coolest looking dude. And that was that. And then I started playing bass. But
Yeah. Lemmy is, I think, the
oh
guy
yeah,
that a lot of bands kind of like mine that are very like bass centric, but are trying to kind of have the bass sit almost kind of more where you would associate a guitar.
yep.
I think we're all kind of ripping off Lemmy a little bit. Like that was sort of his like niche that I feel like people were like, whoa, like I don't know, you'd hear that band, you're like, it sounds almost like they've got another guitarist, but it's too low, it's too heavy to be that.
Uh,
Although I guess I would say, who's the guy from the Who?
oh,
John
you
Enselwood, something like that. He's the guy that probably is like the grandfather of the like,
that sound.
yeah, that very sort of mid-range, very like prevalent in the mix. Not just holding down, the root and on a low end.
Hmm.
He's probably the like godfather of that sound. And then you've got guys like Lemmy coming afterwards who like they popularize it a little more.
Man, Lemmy's sound was just so unique. Like you said, I mean, he has that guitar sound to him, and he's such. I never got to see Motorhead, and I got to see Lemmy perform 2 songs in Nashville with Metallica.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
they were filming footage for his documentary that came out years back, and Metallica was like, "Hey, if you didn't notice, we got an extra rig over here. We like to bring out our friend, Mr. Lemmy Kilmeister," and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
But
that's gotta be crazy.
it was cool, even though I only got to see the back end of Lemmy. I didn't get to see the front of Lemmy. I just saw his ass and his hat, and that was good enough for me.
Yeah.
But just to hear, that's the closest I would ever get to hear his sound. but I would love to have seen Motorhead back in the day. That would have been probably epic as fuck, man.
Yeah.
I heard they were super, super loud.
Yeah, I've heard that too, basically, is that they're a band that you want to go in. I feel like a lot of times I hear that about, and obviously, like, Motorhead was not like a two-piece, but I
No.
hear that about a lot of like two-piece, three-piece like acts, is it's like, oh, we don't have all the instruments that other bands have, so we're just going to be way louder than all those other bands, and you're not even going to notice that there's not. It's going to sound like there's five guys up here, even though
Well,
there's only two or three of us.
I just saw Dinosaur Jr. a couple weeks back,
Yes,
and
another
they are.
very very loud band.
And this was at now I saw them at Bridgestone Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, and that place is huge.
Mhm.
But they made that place sound like you were in a small garage because it was
Yeah,
so fucking loud. Jay Massis is a beast, man, and it's like this dude just stands behind a wall of cabinets, and he's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. I
but
saw them at Shaky Knees
oh,
this
nice.
year, and it's like outdoor, music festival, and they were playing on one of the smaller stages, and I was like, Jesus, these guys are louder than like some of the headliners on like the huge, a stage that's like twice as big.
I mean, everybody in that band, the guitarist, the bass player, the drummer. I mean, everybody in that band, but they're a great live band.
Yeah, yeah, they were good.
Were
Their
you?
bass player is another, I think, example of somebody who I think does like cool stuff with the bass, kind of like pushing it out of its niche. Doing a lot of
Mm,
like chord stuff and like strumming. So like, I think that's cool.
yeah, I got into them when they were more. I guess I would say. I guess you'd use the word. They got a little They got the mainstream hits behind them during the early '90s,
Hmm.
and then I went back and checked out all their early stuff from the '80s, and that stuff was so punk rock back then,
Yeah,
and but everything they do is, I mean, regardless of they had their two or three hits and their, the Cure cover they did, they're so, even to today, they still are phenomenal, man. Jay Mass's solo stuff is just as good as the Dinosaur Jr.'s stuff. Um, but who else played Shaky Knees?
um, that year it was, I think, Queens of Stone
Ooh,
Age,
nice.
Weezer. Yeah, I already seen both of them before, but I did want to catch Queens because they were doing their new album, and I hadn't heard that yet. Well, I'd
Nice.
heard the album, but I hadn't heard it live,
Cool.
so that was cool. And actually, I'm glad I caught them because then right after that, they like canceled a bunch of shows because like the singer needed like a surgery or something like that.
Hmm.
So I was sort of like, damn, I'm lucky to have like caught them, on one of the shows they were able to play. Royal Blood was there, who I like them. They're obviously influential to me, and I'd
Yeah,
never seen them live. So they were another band that was like, so like not a lot of guys on stage, but like you wouldn't know from the wattage that
for
was coming out
sure.
of the amps. You were just like, oh, okay, this. In your chest, it feels like it's a full band when you're
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
them play live. Um, Kingfish, the blues guitarist, he played
yep.
right before Dinosaur Jr., so that was cool. I saw them. There's more. I'm blanking on them.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been to Shaky Knees a couple times now, so like they kind of start to like blur together. Oh, Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters,
Oh
I
no,
think were there too.
I've
Yeah,
never heard of those guys before. Yeah, are they?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are they?
They're pretty small.
Yeah.
They're up and coming though.
Oh, okay. I'll
I think
keep an eye out for them.
they'll have a career. I think. Yeah.
um, yeah, that's a band that I haven't seen in years, and I would like to see them on this level that they're at now. I mean, they're such a fun band to watch live play.
Yeah, I
Um,
had seen them before, but this was, I think, I'd never seen them with their new drummer, so that was like, kind of interesting.
yeah, he's played with damn near everybody you name a band, and Josh
Yeah,
Freese has been played with that band.
yeah.
He's a phenomenal drummer though. Yeah, but you ever been to Bonnaroo?
I have, yeah, 2010, I want to say.
Okay,
I went, and I remember there was the Strokes were there.
nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I like them. Primus. And actually, there you go, another bass player
Fuck.
who I think like really like sort of like pushes the envelope.
Oh yeah,
The instrument. They were really good. Yeah, actually, a lot of people have compared me to Les Claypool,
really?
but Not my bass playing, mostly my singing, which is
Okay.
not how you want to be compared to Les Claypool, frankly.
Yeah.
But no, that's just a joke. But I did like them. They had a great show. I think Eminem was there too.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever
Okay.
seen him before, and he had like a full band with him, so that was cool. It kind of elevates. I'm not like anti DJ or anti backing track. Like I've seen acts that don't come out with a full band and they're still good, and I still
Oh
like
yeah.
them. But I appreciate when like especially a rapper who they could get away with just like one other guy playing the backing track, but they're like, no, 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 I want the full band.
I
Like
think it's cool.
yeah, I give them props for that.
I remember they MTV had a show, or that they had that show. It was called MTV Unplugged, and LL Cool J came out and he performed with a full band. And at the
Mhm.
time, I wasn't really familiar with it, but it was the Roots was his,
Oh, nice.
and then
Yeah,
and
there you
now
go.
the Roots are just phenomenal, for a hip hop band. But to see him perform with a band, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. And then you know years down the road, that's a big thing. Now you see more and more hip hop artists performing with bands live, and I think that's pretty cool to do. I know the big thing now I've seen rapper like I think Nas and Cypress Hill has done concerts with like the symphonies, like they did one with Nashville Symphony
Yeah.
recently, and I'd be like, I really should have gone to the Cypress Hill Nashville Symphony show, and I kick myself in the ass now for not going because that would
That's
just
like
be
that
cool.
that's like that Simpsons joke that's like come to life where they're at
Yeah.
Lollapalooza and they're like, now who ordered the symphony, possibly while high, looking at you, Cypress Hill? And they wrote that as a joke, and then those
Yep.
guys were like, hey, that actually sounds like a good idea though. Like then they got high and they're like, hey, we should order a symphony, man. That'd be sick.
How many things that we've seen or heard about on The Simpsons have come to life in the
It's
last.
true, yeah, they're predicting it. Yeah.
Now I'm just waiting. There was an episode of maybe I got the episode wrong, but it was Homer Palooza and the
I
Sims.
yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they'll do a Homer Palooza when they'll have yeah, it was Cypress Hill and Smashing Pumpkins headline, I
Yeah,
believe.
Pumpkins were there. Yeah. No,
Um,
yeah. Hey, I would go to that music festival.
yeah,
You know.
I just saw the Pumpkins back in August.
Okay.
Wait,
How was
is
that?
it? It was Pumpkins and Green Day and Rancid
Oh,
actually.
nice. Hey, that's a good lineup. I
Yeah.
would go to that.
And then a new band, a new up and coming punk band. They've been around for since COVID era. That's when they got their notice. They're a bunch of kids called the Linda Lindas.
Okay.
Phenomenal, all female fronted punk band, man. They kind of go back to like that 90s kind of Riot Girl era style, and it's pretty good, man. I miss them. It was a newer venue for me to go check out. It was at the soccer field, and never been, so the traffic was horrible, the parking was horrible.
Yeah.
So I missed Rancid.
Ah, dang.
It
I've
was
never even seen them. They're on my
Yeah.
list though. Definitely a
I
band.
saw them during Warp Tour back in the
Okay.
90s. I seen them. So
Cool. Cool.
Warp Tour is coming back, I hear. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, Not sure if anybody gets it in my area. It'll probably be Atlanta because Nashville gets missed out on a lot of shows. So
Yeah, which is funny. You wouldn't expect for like a city like Nashville, to
mhm.
not be getting, but maybe they've got too much homegrown competition that they don't
Well,
want to come set up like some festival of out of towners. I don't know.
I mean, we get all the traffic. Like everybody has to come through Nashville to get to St. Louis, get to Atlanta, get to Memphis, but we get skipped out on.
Yeah, it's
Um,
strange.
I know this next year in Atlanta's coming as the Refused and Quicksand, and the Refused don't ever tour anymore. And this is like maybe a farewell tour. I don't know. But I would like to go see that. Have you listened to Refused?
Yeah, well, I know that one big song by them,
Yeah,
but that one was good, and I
yeah,
would see them. That's kind of what I like about live music is it's sort of like, and like especially a festival setting like that, is you might just be like, I've got like an hour to kill before the band I want to see. Let's see who these guys are, and you just
for
walk
sure.
up, and then it's just like you're right. This is you get a new fan right there if they put on a good show.
Yep.
I've seen like plenty of bands where like I'd never listened to their music before. I hear them, live at a festival, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta start listening to these guys. I hadn't even heard of them, but that was great.
Especially if they have a good stage setup and they get good stage presence.
Hmm.
What's one of the bands that you've seen, say, like at a festival that sucked you in as a new fan?
I had never actually at Bonnaroo. I remember I saw like No FX, and I
Really?
like never listened to them. They were just playing. And I
Wow.
was sort of like, oh, okay, like this is a punk band. That's pretty interesting. Like I hadn't heard. I mean, at the time, even at that Bonnaroo, I wasn't really even listening to Primus like that. I remember my dad telling me, he's like, oh, like definitely you should check out Primus. You would, their bass player is really crazy. And I was like, all right, sure. And then I like when I listened to him, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta start listening to these guys.
Well, even Fat Mike from No Effects, he's a phenomenal bass player.
Hmm.
Phenomenal bass player. Like you watch him live and to see what he's playing, and it's like wow, like that band's super talented. Obviously, on it today or yesterday today is their last show ever
Wow.
in LA. They're doing. I got to see them back in July, and I went to Denver to go see them. Um, Phenomenal live.
You really think it's their last show?
I mean, it's No Effects. There's no telling. Probably not.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, it's like they say it's their last. It might be their last tour, maybe,
yeah.
and
I
maybe
can see that. Maybe.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe doing festivals here and there. As
Uh-huh.
far as a tour, I don't know. It's just like you hear that from these bands all the time now. For instance, like Slayer, okay, our goodbye tour, and then they did all these festivals this year. Are they touring? No, but they're doing the fest circuit, so that's kind
Yeah.
of different. It's like
Sure.
even Motley Crue has said the same thing. This is our final tour, and then they came back. Kiss, this is our farewell tour for like the sixth time, and
Yeah. Well,
but
like this, you talk to people who are like, "Oh, I saw the Rolling Stones on their Find or Farewell tour back in 1986," and it's like those guys are playing. They played last week. Like,
yeah,
yeah, how many final tours are you gonna have?
yeah,
And actually, like, I remember this was in the Bonnaroo I was at, but it was one that my dad went to, and he was like, "Oh yeah, supposedly this is like the final like Nine Inch Nails tour," and like I got to see them. And at the time, I was like, "Oh man, I wish I could see Nine Inch Nails." And then I saw them 2 years ago at a Shaky Knees.
phenomenal.
Yeah, no, they're great, but how final was that tour 10 years ago? I'm
It was
seeing them now. Like,
it was the final lineup with that. It was the final tour with that lineup.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the
Um,
good. That's the out that the sort of like the bands that are kind of just one guy, and then like his crew. That's the excuse that they have. It's like this is our final tour, and then
yeah.
next week it's like no, these guys are all different. This is new. Just
I
because I'm still getting paid and it's the same band name doesn't mean it's not a new.
It's kind of like I mean, that's how Foo Fighters started. It was just Dave Grohl, and then down the road he collected
Hmm.
his little members, and now he has the same lineup, obviously without uh, uh, Taylor Hawkins, but it's the same lineup now. Well, they're on hiatus now
Yeah. Well, Queens of the Stone Age were like the same way. They had this huge revolving door of
with
different
Josh.
artists. And then around the time I got into them, they basically have the same lineup as when I first started listening to them, like, almost 15 years ago. The drummer's different, but I think everybody else has been the same since then.
I would like to have seen Queens of the Stone Age with Dave Grohl. I don't know if they ever toured with Dave Grohl, but I
They
think that
did some shows. I've
they
seen
did.
the
Yeah,
videos
I've
of
seen the
them.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And those look sick, like definitely.
yeah. He's a great
But
drummer, man.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's got to stop holding himself back with this Foo Fighters stuff and get back to his real passion, drumming.
I think I saw a video last year, the year before last. He was back behind a drum kit, and the audience kept like, "Smells like Teen Spirit, smells like Teen Spirit," and he's like, "All right." So he fucking played it, but he still hits so hard. He's just a man. He's a beast on the drums. Yeah, he needs to play some drums somewhere again. I'd like to see that in the
Yeah,
band.
I would love to get to see them Crooked Vultures live.
Ooh, that'd
I
be
don't know.
sweet.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ever gonna do. I mean, John Paul Jones might be a little over the traveling the world touring life, but like they were one that I always thought was like cool.
They played the Ryman in Nashville years back. I mean, it's been a long while, but
Hmm.
I didn't go, and it's one of those times you're like, man, why didn't I go see that? It's just like I've done that with a lot of shows. It's like, nah, I'll go next time, and then there never is a next time. It's like now I just buy any ticket that I'm like, I'm going to the show now. I'm going to
Yeah.
this show now. It's like I went and saw like I said, I saw Dinosaur Jr. It was Dinosaur Jr., Weezer, and the Flaming Lips. The Weezer is doing obviously the Blue album in its
Hmm.
entirety, which was a phenomenal, phenomenal show. But one of those bands that I knew about and I listened to like the hits back in the 90s was the Flaming Lips, but their stage show sucked me in so hard and they sounded so good live. And I'm like, all right, I can jam on these guys for a little while. They're pretty fucking good live, and they threw it down for sure.
Yeah, they were at some festival I was at. I want to say Hangout, which is down on the Gulch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were doing something weird where they were playing like an entire album.
Was it a Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah, it was a Pink Floyd. That was because I remember
Yeah.
thinking like, I'm seeing the Flaming Lips, but they're not gonna play any Flaming Lips songs.
Well,
And I was like, that's interesting. Like, I remember. I don't remember if this was because this was like a good 10+ years ago at this point. But I remember. I don't know if this was like just in the crowd or if they had this on stage. But they had like people in giant blow up like balls, like almost
yes.
like hamster balls. Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that and thinking like, this is like a weird. Like, what am I looking at?
Well, apparently, the Flaming Lips, like I knew they did the Wall one, or Dark. No, sorry, not the Wall. Dark Side of the Moon. They did. That's what it was.
Mhm.
But it was with like the album itself had like Henry Rollins was doing vocals on it,
Oh wow.
and members of other bands. But apparently, they do that with a lot of old classic albums. They'll go back and record them and do their vision of that album, and they do some pretty good work. But Hangout Fest is one of those fests I would love to check out as well. I've never been. Did they cancel it this year or last year? I think.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't
weather or
really.
something.
Well, the thing is now in Atlanta, we've got a bunch of music festivals that started. Like it used to be, you would have to go to Bonnaroo or
Mhm.
hang out or something like that, and then now we have like Shaky Knees and Music Midtown and stuff like that. So it's a lot easier to just be like, I'm just gonna go to the festival that I can walk to from my house rather than the
Yeah.
festival that I gotta drive to and get a hotel or I gotta camp or whatever.
Yeah, we have Nashville has the Pilgrim Festival or Pilgrimage Festival.
Mhm.
Obviously Bonnaroo, which technically isn't Nashville, but everyone says Nashville. That's about it. There was really too many different festivals. I know Huntsville, Alabama just had a fest that it was its first year last week or the week before last. And of course that hurricane came through.
Yeah.
The first night was great. The second night, which Blink 182 was headlighting the second night, they had to cancel the whole day. So people were pretty bummed.
Unfortunate timing there. I mean, it's good for the bands, good for the people who only bought 1-day tickets.
For sure.
For Friday, it worked out for them. But
yeah,
that's unfortunate.
The
storm was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys get a lot of wetness down there?
We got a lot of rain, but not. It got off mild compared to like some of the stuff I've seen.
Mm-hmm, yeah, for sure. I've seen the videos. I'm like, man, if I could go down and give a hand, I probably would. I know a bunch of people that have gone down there and to lend a hand. It's just because it could be anybody at any time, like luckily, knock on wood, I've lived in Clarksville for 31 years of my life and have never got hit. Well, we've gotten hit by tornadoes, but I've been pretty lucky. So knock on wood, because there has been some pretty bad areas in this area hit. So
I know like Asheville got like totally trashed, and it was crazy because I was just there maybe about a year ago. It was right around the time I put out the Dragzilla song, and this guy Tyler, he asked me to fill in on bass for his band, the Cyberdelics, and they were doing like a little triple run weekend thing. And so we played Smiths together. I played with them like slaypositive did at Smiths. And then I went with him to Asheville and then Nashville for like 2 shows the next 2 days. And I remember like driving through Asheville and there was some like quarry or something. I kind of just look at it, I'm like, all right, I guess we're getting close to the whatever. And then I see that same quarry and it's underwater. And, but like it was not, like it was huge. It's like, a 50-foot tall tower that now you can see the very tip of it, out of the water.
It was like when the Katrina hit Louisiana, and everything in Louisiana was just underwater. It's like, fuck, that's just so.
Well, speaking of festivals, though, I remember my parents took me to Jazz Fest in New Orleans. I think literally the year before Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
And like we were there and, I saw all these acts and we left. And then next year the hurricane hits. And I remember my dad saying to me, like it's good that you went. I took you when we did, because like the city's not going to be the same for a while now.
No.
So you got to see it pre Katrina, and a lot of people aren't gonna. They won't have that claim.
Do you remember if Les Claypool played that year at that Jazz Fest?
It's Les Claypool. I'm trying to remember. I know Pearl Jam was there.
Ooh.
Earth, Wind, and Fire were there.
How old were you?
Oh God, I must have been maybe like 13.
Oh,
Although
no.
actually, my parents, they took me to Jazz Fest once when I was like a baby. Like I just like sitting in their lap out in the field. So technically, it was my second Jazz Fest, but it's the only one I remember.
Do you remember if Pearl Jam, how Pearl Jam sounded?
Yeah, they sounded good. They were one of the guys that I was really excited to see, who I'd like known.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were good. Earth, Wind, and Fire were good. I'm sure there were more acts that I'm just blanking on now.
I know. I just, because I've known over the years the Jazz Fest. I think if there's so many different like jazzy kind of festivals in Louisiana, but there's one I know for sure. There's like a jam session at one point, and they had like Les Claypool was there, Copeland from the Police, and they had like a big jam session up there. And I was like, man, that would be cool.
That's cool. Watch
yeah.
My dad has a story from Jazz Fest. This is not. I think this was probably before I was born.
Okay.
But basically, like they used to be, because it's called Jazz Fest, there used to be more jazz.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they kind of realized that they're like, this would be a lot bigger if we were picking like, acts that played stuff besides jazz. So they kind of set up a thing where they're like, all right, we've got this one tent that's all jazz, but now we've got more like pop and rock and R&B rap type acts that, mainstream audiences would probably want to listen to. So the festival got a lot bigger when they stopped doing exclusively jazz. And so the one tent that was like all jazz, my dad said that like it was the only tent that was covered. It had like a covering, and it started raining super hard. And so he like walks into the tent, and he says it's like, probably like 3/4 empty. He's like, so I get to like, the middle of the area, and I'm watching the jazz band. And then at one point I turn behind me, and the whole tent has like filled up, because this is the only one that doesn't have any rain. He was like, those musicians were so lucky, because they start the set and the venue's mostly empty. And by the end of the set, it's like standing room only. It's just packed. And he said that they had like, it was just some, like, he's like, I don't even know if they were like a famous band. They could have been just local acts. And he said they played a great set, and they got a huge crowd that just wandered right in to get out of the rain.
Yeah.
So it's like perfect time. Now it's like anytime, now I'm always like, yeah, if I get a festival, just got to hope that it's the one covered. The one covered stage. And then you just got to hope for bad weather. And then you can have the greatest show of your life.
When I was in Denver in July to go see NoFX's farewell tour, one of the dates of it, it was like NoFX and MXPX and Suicidal Tendencies and Lagwag, a bunch of a bunch of punk rock bands. And well, Saturday, man, let me tell you, I don't even know what kind of storm this was, but it was everything that you can imagine in one storm. And they had to cancel. Like MXPX hit the stage, and they stopped, and they took all the banners all came off the post. They took all the banners down, and I'm like, what's going on? They still played, and they have a song this called "Let's Ride." And it's talking about raining and shit. And as soon as they start singing that, man, it starts just raining, and it was like epic as fuck. And then they canceled the show. But then you look over, and you said the tent thing, and there's all these people underneath all these merch tents, underneath all these, just wherever they can get. And I'm like, what you were saying, like, it would have been cooler if it was a band that was able to play. So, but that was an epic show. We had to cancel it, and NoFX didn't play Saturday. They played 2 sets on Sunday. They played a matinee show, which was at 3, and then they played at 7:00 in the evening. So it was cool to see NoFX twice in one day, and Suicidal Tendencies was sandwiched in between with them, which was cool.
Nice.
But I was bummed because they redid the whole lineup for Sunday at the last minute, and I wanted to see Comeback Kid, and they ended up closing the show. My buddy didn't want to stick around that late, so I had to miss out on the Comeback Kid, which sucked. You ever seen Comeback Kid? Or ever hear of them?
I haven't.
They're a hardcore punk band from Canada. They've been around for years, but their live shows are top notch. Like there's so much energy. The crowd is so involved. It's just like kids piling on top of each other, grabbing a mic, singing along, and it's good times, man.
That's cool. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like to go to more fests. Um, is there any like local bands that do like put together like festival type shows in your area?
There are some stuff. I know that we've got this local sort of like a record label called
Okay.
like Terminus Hate City, and
Hmm.
they're more like metal. So it's not really like the type of music I play, but they put on like a festival in Little Five Points that was
Okay.
like pretty big for like considering it was all just like local acts, and it was free too, so anyone
Nice.
could just walk up and see. But they had like the full stages kind of set up, taking over like the block. Um, so that was cool. They, we had a 420 Fest, which is put on by
Okay.
like Sweetwater, and usually that's like bigger name acts and a more like touring. They got
Yeah.
Snoop
Yeah.
Dogg or Beck or whatever. But this year, I don't know what happened, if they didn't sell enough tickets or something, but like all of the headliners dropped out. So it became like a local fest because it was all
Nice.
like the local acts left who, and they I think they were like charging too much money probably, and they just didn't sell enough tickets. And so then they were just like, okay, well, all the big name acts dropped out. Now it's like $20, but it's all local acts.
Hell
But
yeah.
it's like it's probably a good deal for the local acts because they probably got more people coming through on the cheap $20 tickets than they would have on the $200 ones or whatever.
And people that are there are going to still listen to music and drink their beer and have a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
I know Sweetwater opened up a brewery in North Carolina. It might have been Asheville, and years back. I might not, maybe it's not Asheville, but I know it's in North Carolina. But it's a fancy looking brewery, man. They built a lazy river in it too, so you can be at the brewery and get on the little rafts and go around this little lazy river and come back up and just be drinking beer.
That's cool. Yeah, well,
Um,
post Hurricane Helene, the river's not so lazy anymore. But
you're right. Yeah. Um, So we have a little fest here. A buddy of mine does. This was the 10th year here. It's called Possum Stock.
okay,
It's
good name.
phenomenal, man. It's a great name. It has to do with the road that it's a road called Possum Holler Road. But it's called Possum Stock now, and they've done it in different little areas in the region in this area. But it's a great local fest. My band played it back in 2017. And it's a good time, man. It's all local music, all local acts. One year, um, the I think it was 2018. I think it was the guy that plays that song. I'm a teenage dirtbag. That is like Weedus, I think his name is.
Mhm.
But it was like the last couple of years, it was like really popular. It became one of them TikTok videos, that
Yeah.
song. Anyway, he was performing in Nashville or something. I don't know the whole story, but he ended up asking somebody, "Hey man, is there anywhere I can play tomorrow?" And this guy was like, "Well, I know our friend has a fest up in that they're doing called Possum Stock. You come play that." So these people woke up that morning to him playing, and it was like the most craziest thing. But
Wow.
it's a cool little festo, man, called Possum Talk every year. It's a 3-day fest. It's a good turnout. I can say that I'm a douche because I have not gone to any of the shows, just the one I played. But I do I do try to put the word of mouth out there on socials when it happens. But yeah, it's a good time, man. A lot of local bands from the area play, even bands from out of the area too. So, keep that in mind. And I'm going to talk to dude next year about maybe seeing if I can do maybe a small stage for myself and maybe book some of the people that I've interviewed on it.
Okay, sick. Yeah. No, I like to play that.
Yeah. I mean, we got a good
Play
little,
possum. You know.
yeah. Possum Holler, man. It's a road called Possum Holler Road. And it's just the name of the suit. But then I also have a friend's band that's from around there. They don't really play much anymore. They're called Possum Holler. And
Okay. Nice.
they're pretty fucking dope. The guy from Lamb of God, the guitar player from Lamb of God, really fell in love with them. They're not the same kind of music, but he really fucking fell in love with them, and he was in their music video and everything. It was pretty interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, there's a good scene up in this area, man. So when you said you played Nashville with that other band, where'd you guys play at?
Well, we were supposed to play like a club, and then like I don't know if they like double booked or if they had to close or something, but at the last minute it got switched to like I think it was a tea shop. Like they were selling tea, and then when they would have closed, I guess they just moved all of the chairs and everything, and we
Okay.
just played. And it was a decent show. Like the crowd got like hyped and everything,
Uh-huh.
but it was like a funny like they're saying like like relaxing, chamomile tea, and then we're there playing like industrial fucking rock and shit, like I was like, oh, okay, okay, like, but yeah, that was fun.
Those are some of the best shows, though. Just like, oh, we're gonna move it, we're gonna throw it here, but then
Yeah.
they
Well, I assume a town like Nashville, like every business is kind of like used to like, hey, like after you close, like why don't stay open and we'll let a band play, and they're like, okay, like
yeah.
like in a town like that, it's probably pretty standard.
There's such a great. There's so many killer venues in Nashville, and some of the great ones have gone because they just they sold the property. They had to sell, that property got bought, and the
Hmm.
venue had to go. But and we still got our like the exit in and the end, and those old school venues there. The end is it's a good. It's a good venue. It's sweaty, and it's like a CBGB's kind of vibe.
Yeah,
I got to play there finally after all the years that I played music. I finally got to play there in 2019, right before COVID.
nice.
We played with Agnostic Front.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, it was really cool to see that show. Uh, let's see. So what's in the future for Slay Positive?
Well, I've been working on a new song, and the song is actually finished. Funny enough, it got done before No Hook, and I've been working on a music video for it. The
Gotcha.
song, yeah, the song's called "Good Hair," and it's supposed to just be like a celebration of all types of different like hairstyles and everything. And I'm trying to
Okay.
get like a bunch of people and like film them and kind of short like 5 seconds, new person, 5 seconds, but just showing off lots of different like hairstyles. And I've been filming it piecemeal. I live near a park, and they've got like a nice like I guess it's like an art installation, but it's this
Okay.
like it's like a concrete kind of wall, but it's like kind of like got like a swirl of sort of different like I guess all the stuff that goes into concrete, but it's like a cool kind of abstract pattern. So I've just been kind of filming people in front of it like bit by bit. And so that'll be the next thing I do. But like as I was working on that, I was like, this is actually like taking a while to like, organize, just get different people. So I was like, let me just like work on this other song and get some like animation done for it. And then just my idea was like whichever one is done first, I'll put it out. And then No Hook got done way first,
Well,
because I guess it's way easier to just like organize two people than it is to organize like 40 or whatever,
yeah.
you know?
What's No Hook about?
Um, I would say kind of like maybe like anxieties and like about making art and like coming up with ideas. And I remember at one point kind of just thinking like it's like, do you have like a limited number of ideas? Like at some point am I just going to be like, I got I put out 100 songs, hey, I wish it was 100 songs. More
Yeah.
likely I put out 10 songs and now I'm all out of ideas. I don't know what else to do. um and so it sort of came like from that. So it's sort of like kind of like a double play of like no hook, as if there was no hook or chorus to the song, but then also no hook, like I couldn't come up with one, and that's
Gotcha.
actually at the end, the outro of the song, right, is the lyrics. He goes, there's no hook here, we couldn't write one, you know.
Well,
um
would you say about all this, the art and stuff? Are you an artist besides a musician?
I guess. I mean, I like to do the videos when I can. I mean, obviously I haven't done all of them myself. Some of them were just like, I had an idea and I outsourced it to somebody that's more familiar. Like No Hook, for example. Like
Okay, okay.
I know I wanted like this idea of like, like an 8-bit kind of pixel art thing, and you've got a character moving from one side and he keeps turning into something else, turning into something else.
Okay.
Um, but I wasn't actually the one who made it. I just had that
Gotcha.
idea and told a guy. But like Dragzilla, I basically did all that myself. I mean, obviously my friend AJ, he played the title character. But yeah, I guess so. I mean, I like doing film. I like writing. I like editing, and the music videos are kind of just an easy way to do that. And I think because they're kind of naturally smaller scale, and not having to really worry about the audio takes kind of like a lot off the plate
Yeah.
of, oh, there's, we got to redo this take. You can hear a truck going by in the background, and now the audio, it's like, they're not going to, it's essentially a silent film. And then you just layer the music on top of it.
Yeah.
So it lets you kind of just focus more on like, the cuts and the editing. But yeah, I like creative stuff. I like, making stuff.
You saw obviously you learned all this on your own. How to do all this.
I mean, yes and no. I've definitely had people, help me and like show me stuff. I had like in college, I had a lot of friends who they studied film. They were into like, and I would, like kind of help them when I could with stuff like, oh, I got a location you can film at, like, oh, you can use this thing, And so they kind of like sat me down and were just like, all right, here's how here's how Premiere works, this editing software.
Yeah.
So I'm not, totally self-taught, but yeah, not the most, not the most formal training,
What'd you go to school for?
I studied political science.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you do now for work?
No, like I do
Nothing.
accounting. Yeah.
Okay.
It's nothing related to political science.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's
I
kind
think
of
that's
just one of those degrees you get, and then people are like, okay, you have a degree, you can come in. But they don't actually care, you know what I mean, what the degree is.
So do you know Andrew from Low Before the Breeze?
Yeah, he did an interview with me. I do like a sort of comedy interview series.
Okay.
Kind of like Between Two Ferns or like the Eric Andre show where I play like a sort of like a bad interview, you know what I mean? But like for comedic purposes. And so his band did one. It's over on my YouTube. Anybody can check it out. And we hung out and we like jammed a little, and I thought he was cool. And that's actually how I saw about your show, as I saw that he was posting about it, and I was just like, oh, like if they'll interview him, they'll probably interview me, So let me reach out, like.
Yeah, I mean, I've been. It's just like it's fun, I enjoy doing it. I started it back in March, and I think this will be this, and also just so you know, this will come out tomorrow.
Okay, it's cool.
It's
episode. Good turnaround. I've done some that are like you do the interview and you're promoting like a single, and then it comes out like 4 months later, and you got a whole new song that you're trying to promote. Well, luckily that's my timetable though on how I put out music. So
yeah, well, what I like to do too is like I'll sandbag some episodes, and I won't be too concerned about like throwing them out real fast if it's not promoting something.
Yeah.
If we're just bullshitting and stuff, but I'm gonna get you out tomorrow, and like I said, you're gonna be like episode 22.
Nice.
So,
all right. Cool.
Yeah. I told myself I was gonna, when I talked to you originally, I was gonna not do any episodes for a month and then just take a break and then start what I guess what we would say a new season, but no, there's not gonna be no new season.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm just gonna keep going. Fuck it,
Well, that's kind of in this environment where it's like everything's online. People kind of expect like, oh, I'm gonna get something every week. You know what I mean? And there's not gonna be a season break or whatever. No.
Yeah, like I said, I like to sandbag. I'll sandbag every once in a while, and I was doing well with sandbagging. Only 4 episodes at a time. I wasn't trying to be like, all right, I got 15 episodes sandbag. I don't know when I'm gonna put them out. No, that gets too far in advance. But but no, I really enjoy doing it. Yeah, and Andrew seemed like a really cool dude. Also, there goes my camera. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. So
all good. I can still hear you. So.
Yeah. I think now that the people like, for instance, you, I didn't really know, I don't know you, but we're talking, we're chatting. I think, the next time if we do another one down the road, it'll be a lot more chill, more relaxed. I mean, this is pretty relaxed as well, but
yeah.
Andrew seems like a really cool guy.
I think we're old friends. What are you talking about?
Yeah. We've known each other forever.
Yeah.
But then he found me from a buddy of mine that I went to middle school with when I lived in Germany. I did a podcast with him. And then he hit me up. He was like, "Hey man, I saw you did a podcast with Chad. Can I get on?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, you can get on." So yeah, that's how that all started.
Cool. Yeah.
And
I mean,
there
it's
I
good
am.
word of mouth. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, and like I said, promote it. You guys promote it however you want. I'll promote it, and then I'm not concerned about getting fifty
Hmm.
thousand likes. It's all about just having a good time and talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll
You know.
definitely when it's up. Yeah, and I see it, I'll make a post. I'll like link to your stuff on Instagram and everything. But
For sure.
yeah,
Uh,
cool.
um, how long we've been doing this for an hour?
About an hour. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. What's something that we don't that people wouldn't know about you? Or are you a pretty open book?
Um. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm a pretty open book, more or less. I don't know. Me personally, sometimes I think like as an individual, I'm not really that interesting. That's where I got
Uh-huh.
to do this like music stuff, and try to make something a little more, uh, eye catching or whatever. It's funny because I like a lot of musicians. I feel like they really like to be, it's like they just want the spotlight on them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I'm not saying I don't have like I like performing, I like being on stage and everything. Um, but like generally I kind of like to let the music or like if it's the interview series I do like the comedy or whatever kind of just stand on it for itself, and
Yeah.
not like stress about like everybody pay attention to me, I got this thing to say and it's not that I don't or whatever, but like yeah, I like to let the music and the art and the videos and everything kind of speak for themselves.
You been doing haunted houses yet this year?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
It's I just decorated for Halloween at my house,
That should be up all year round, right?
It should be, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a dude like down the street from me who goes like absolutely insane. His whole yard just gets transformed. And
Oh,
he
nice.
started in like mid-September putting stuff out. But that's because, if he had started in October, like he wouldn't have had time to put everything out.
Yeah, that's how my neighbor is. He goes ham on it. He didn't do it this year because he's out of town, but
Hmm.
sometimes he'll start in October and get it finished right when Halloween hits, and then the next day he's taking it all back down. I'm like, man, all
No,
that
come
work.
on. You can leave it up a little bit through November.
Well,
I try to have it down mid-November, but
yeah.
like November 1st, people still in the mood. They still want to see the skulls and the pumpkins and all that.
Well, the haunted houses go until I think a week after Halloween anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Last year for Halloween, he put up he had like 4 skeletons up, and then well, no, for Christmas, he put these 4 skeletons up around the Christmas tree in his front yard, and he just stuck a Santa hats on top of them, and
Yeah.
it made them
There
look
you,
like they were singing carols.
yeah, there you go. That's what we should start doing. Yeah, it's like kind of like a twofer. You
Yeah,
know, you decorate for Halloween, you make a slight adjustment. That's your Christmas decorations. Well,
for sure.
that's probably why Nightmare Before Christmas is so popular.
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
just works for that whole 3 months?
Are you a Nightmare Before Christmas fan?
Yeah, yeah. My parents showed me that when I was like a kid, so it
Yeah.
was like they were really into the Grateful Dead. So they
Really?
always had
Okay.
yeah. So they always had lots of like, skull like Grateful Dead memorabilia
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
And I think what looking at all of that stuff just as a child got me interested in like Halloween and like horror stuff. Even though obviously that's not like what the band's about, but like seeing the all the skeletons all the time, I think it primed me probably to enjoy something like Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I'm actually from San Francisco, so that's obviously the home of the dead.
Mm,
So I grew up my whole life, seeing deadhead stuff
yeah.
everywhere. And the local fire department on Haight and Ashbury, where the dead was living at, the fire department their crest is actually the deadhead logo.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so I think that's pretty cool. And then it's because they were such a big part of that area during the '60s.
Hmm.
But wow, yeah, the Dead. They're still. I don't know if they're still going. I think now they're the Dead and Co. with John Mayer.
Yeah, John Mayer. I think my folks just saw them at the Sphere in
Woo!
Vegas.
That would have
Yeah.
been dope. That would have been dope. I would like to go to the Sphere one time.
Yeah, I've seen the outside of it, I haven't been inside. I hear it's cool. It
Yeah.
looked cool on the outside. I remember when I first saw it on like, Instagram or something. It's like the big smiley face thing. I thought it was just like a sticker or something you put on an Instagram like reel. And then someone was like, I can't believe they really built that thing. And I was like, what? And I Googled it and I was like, that's real? I thought that was like a Snapchat filter. Like,
There apparently, if you have there's a hotel window room that somebody had posted a Snapchat or a Instagram video from. They opened up the curtains, and it was just a big eyeball, and
yeah.
it was blinking, and I was like, man, that'd
Yeah,
been
for
creepy as
Halloween
fuck.
they made it an eyeball. When I was there, it was I think they just had the big yellow smiley face.
Yeah, yep, yep.
And I remember someone being like, "Oh, like I think it looks so cute." And I was like, "That thing is like 10 stories tall. Like it's ginormous."
Yeah.
It's like it's funny to like look at something like 1,000 times bigger than you and be like, "Oh, that's so cute." Like usually it's like that's something smaller than you. But
I can imagine if I always said that somebody needs to put like make that sphere like the outside of it like a ball of flame. So when you're flying over, you think you got a meteor hit down there in
yeah,
Vegas.
yeah.
I
That'd be
know
good,
they
yeah.
I know they've been doing like, U2 did a residency there for a few nights and they've done some concerts obviously in there. I know the Dead did their stuff, but now they're doing like UFC fights and shit in there. And I'm like, that must just take away from the actual feel of a UFC fight because of because the stage is not in the center. The stage is more against the wall, and it's just a whole
Yeah.
different, but
Yeah,
you
to
just
imagine like a sporting event like that, you would want to be in the middle and have the
mhm.
360 around it
Yeah.
because with the music, you don't want to be behind the amps. You don't want to be looking at the back of, Lemmy's head. I mean, maybe Lemmy, but most people you want to be looking at their face,
Yeah, I see.
but yeah, I
I
don't
know
know.
I know WWE is holding a WrestleMania there next year, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if it's going to be in the sphere, but I don't think it would be because it's probably too small for a WrestleMania. They're probably going to do it like at a
Hmm.
the Raiders Stadium, but I can see them doing an episode of one of their TV shows in it. But my goal is I got to go to see Vegas and hopefully catch a cool show there. I mean, I'd go see U2 in the sphere,
Yeah,
because they
talk
have
to
such a
anybody. Yeah.
I mean, because of the showing. I mean, hell, there's this. It's a whole screen above you everywhere. It's
Hmm.
just pretty cool. I'm all doing hand gestures like you can see me
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, yeah.
But
Well, I
yeah, I'd be
saw
kind of
the Beatles Cirque du Soleil like Love performance in Vegas,
uh huh.
and they like not a they didn't have the screen, but it was a similar kind of round like circular room, so like you could kind of hear the audio like moving throughout the room,
That would have been
and,
cool.
and it's like an interesting yeah those circular rooms like I'm sure it's a bitch to get it all like sounding good, but once you have it set up, it does create some interesting like you kind of almost hear the sound pass by you. And you're like, huh, like weird, like you're turning your head.
I would like to go to Vegas to see something. I mean, I've been to Vegas. I never got to see any shows or anything, but I would love to go and just check out one of the residencies. I know. I think they just announced. I think Motley Crue's doing a residency there next year for about
Okay.
2 weeks. And then my mom, you said Cirque du Soleil. My mom was there a couple years back and she saw the Michael Jackson Cirque du Soleil.
Okay.
She
Yeah.
said that was really cool. She enjoyed that. She said then after the show, the Michael Jackson impersonator that was on stage came out and shook everybody's hand and
Oh,
took
that's
pictures
nice.
with him. I was like, that's pretty cool because Michael wouldn't have done that.
Well,
But
yeah.
I grew up a Michael fan because that was what was popular when I was a kid. So but anyway.
Yeah.
Um well, Bill, is there anything else you want to push besides the new single or anything?
Yeah, I mean, just check out my YouTube, my Instagram, Slay Positive Music. We're on all the streaming services, just at Slay Positive. Yeah, the new single came out a couple weeks ago, No Hook. Not to toot my own horn, I think it's pretty good. Kind of like punk rock with a little like electronic vibes to it. And we got a single coming, another video coming out in the future. Good Hair, that one's kind of like pop punk kind of vibes. And then like on the outro, this sort of like hip hop type of beat, that's like kind of the snare and the very compressed snare and hi hat kind of starts playing. but then we have the regular drums kind of come in underneath it. So you've got sort of like the two beats going, and almost one of them is kind of this is what I told Glenn when it was time to mix and master. I was like, pretend it's like a guitar solo, you know, something that kind of sits on top of the song and is like almost like, you know, where like a melody line would go.
Okay.
So I think that song sounds pretty good, and hopefully the video, you know, I mean, from what I have, it's about 50% of the way there, and it looks good so far. I just need more people in it. So if anybody in Atlanta wants to be in it, feel free, hit me up. If any local bands want to do like a, you know, kind of comedic interview, you know, check out that's all on my YouTube as well, like the Slade interviews. But yeah, any of that stuff I think is pretty good. So check it out.
I'll have your link below. I'll put it in the description. You have a link tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put that in the description, and then obviously when I put it online, I'll tag. I'll drop a different link every time.
Sweet. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. The link tree, I put that just in the YouTube in the bio section on all the videos, so you can anybody can like check that out too.
Hell yeah. Well, Bill, this was fun. Good chatting with you for a while. Hopefully you had a good time.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me. And yeah, when it's up, let me know. I'll post about it. Try to send more people your way.
I'm sorry my face disappeared, but it's still there, and it's still there in a way.
Yeah.
All right, man.
The artwork's nice.
I appreciate it, man. I got my homie did it. And it's pretty detailed. I had somebody make me a banner here recently, and he's like, "Man, I didn't realize how detailed it is. You can see all the hair in your beard when I had a beard."
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good.
All right, man. Well, I had a good time, and till next time.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
Later,
Make
man.
it easy.